Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here. In today's video, I want to talk about a few new products that Razer has recently released. Let's get started. So in the month of October, Razer has announced two brand new products. Both are very different controllers, but both have their niche markets. The first one is the Raion. They announced that one earlier this month, actually just over a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago now. And the JungleCat. In this video, I'll be talking about both controllers. So if there's one you want to see over the other, I'm going to be talking about the Raion first, and then I'm going to flip over to the JungleCat, the Android controller, second. But if you want to stay for the whole thing, I am a-okay with that too. I was pleasantly surprised to see the Raion announced, especially this late in the PS4 cycle. I mean, the PS5 is just around the corner. We've already kind of seen dev units, and they've already announced the PS5. So this is very interesting to see, but also a very welcome sight. As you probably know, I'm a big fan of fight pads and fight sticks. So when I see this new Raion, I'm happy because we need more fight pads in the market. We really do. Now, when you think about fight sticks, there are a ton of different brands out there, a ton of different styles, and there's kind of something for everyone. And in terms of fight sticks, if there's something on the fight stick that you don't like, you can usually customize it in some way, shape, or form. With a fight pad, that's considerably more difficult. So most cases, you either like the fight pad or you hate it. We can see 6 buttons here right on the face of the controller, which is a very welcome sight. It's very similar to the Hori Fighting Commander in that regard, and that was one of the features I really liked on the Hori Fighting Commander. There were some things on the Hori Fighting Commander that I didn't like, but these 6 buttons on the face was one of the things that I really liked, and Razer's got it here. On top of that, their D-pad is circular. Is that a good thing? Depends. Is it a bad thing? Depends. So I will say right off the bat, this circular D-pad will be a matter of personal preference. Some people do like the cross D-pad, some people like the circle D-pad. There is no right or wrong answer here. It's completely personal preference. So let's scroll down just a little bit here. This is one thing I did want to point out as well. The 6 buttons on the face allows you to place this on your lap and use it kind of like a pseudo fight stick. So some people aren't aware that you can do this with fight pads, especially with the 6 button ones. That makes it much more viable. All right, so scrolling down here, this is probably my favorite part of the controller. I'm going to move myself to the other side of the screen so you can take a look at this. It says Razer Mechanical Switch face buttons. This controller uses mechanical switches for the buttons on the face of the controller, which is pretty huge in my opinion. Most controllers, most fight pads use rubber membranes. Actually, it's almost on all controllers. It's a rubber membrane that goes underneath the button. This is considerably different. This is an actual mechanical switch like you'd find in a keyboard underneath the button, which is amazing. You can actually find some mechanical switches as well on fight sticks. Heck, I've got a mechanical switch. Oh, I guess you can't see because I've got the green screen up, but I have mechanical switches in my Hori fighting stick that I modded. So let's take a look at what Razer says here about this. They say this fighting game controller's face buttons are designed slightly larger than the industry standard, which means there's less chance of you missing an input because they're easier to hit. Each input you make is also instantaneous thanks to the ultra-fast actuation of our Razer yellow switches, built to have a staggering 80+ million tap life cycle. This industry-leading standard has been tested and proven many times over in our renowned keyboards. I'm going to take a quick second to go over the D-pad on this as well. It says the Mecha-tactile 8-way D-pad. Basically, it's less restrictive than a 4-way D-pad and also cleaner diagonal inputs. And I'll say right off the bat, that may be true for some people, but it also may be false. If you're more comfortable with a 4-way D-pad, the 8-way D-pad won't make you better because you're more comfortable in the 4-way. But at the same time, if this is a very good D-pad, then it will make the world of difference in this controller. A good D-pad is always better than a bad D-pad. So with a good D-pad, movements, combos when you're doing things require, I would say, I don't want to say less precision, but less brain power. to an extent, because if you are doing things on a poor D-pad, you do have to put in extra thought, extra precision to make sure you're hitting things extremely cleanly and properly. And if your D-pad is, you know, a little finicky, a little sensitive to certain movements and maybe giving you wrong inputs, then you have to be conscious of that, and conscious of that while you're, you know, doing combos, playing the game, and it's just another added factor to it. Where a good D-pad, I know I'm kind of rambling here, but whereas a good D-pad, you don't really have to think about those things, because you know if you're going to hit right, right's going to come out. If you hit right and then left really quick, right then left comes out. It doesn't just hit a few other directionals on the way. So I would say a good D-pad, whether it's circle or just across here, makes all the difference. Another interesting feature on this one, you can flip around the triggers to see what they do. For example, if you want the triggers to be on the right side to be left side triggers, you can actually do that because you have R1 and R2 buttons already on the face. So then you can switch the right trigger to be, you know, L1 and L2, and that's okay. You can also switch the input here for the D-pad. So it can be a D-pad or the left stick or the right stick on a controller. So for example, if you're playing a game and it requires the left stick for some reason, then you just flip this over to left stick and it'll work that way. There's also a competition mode on this, which is really cool. So it'll lock the other buttons that you don't want to hit, that if you accidentally hit them in a fighting game tournament, for example, you'd be disqualified. So this tournament mode disables those. You don't have to worry about it at all. There's a 3.5mm audio port, which is awesome. And obviously the PS4 touchpad, which you can kind of blatantly see it anyway on the controller. So now if you're wondering whether or not you should pick one of these up, unfortunately, I cannot make that decision for you. I do not have one of these things to review. Razer, if you're watching, I would be more than willing to review the Raion for you here. But in terms of availability, I think right now they're only available in Europe and they're listed at €109.99. So I highlighted it there. It might be hard to see. €109.99, which I think translates to 125 US dollars. And at that price, I would definitely say this is not an inexpensive controller. Now you can see right away they are using things like mechanical switches in this. It's very innovative. I really think the buttons are going to feel amazing. In terms of the D-pad, I think that's going to be hit and miss with people, to be perfectly honest. Some people prefer the cross, some people prefer the circle, but I definitely think the D-pad on this, if it's a good D-pad, is great. If it's a poor D-pad, it's going to break this controller. Like, it doesn't matter how good the buttons are, how good the layout of it is, how good it feels. If the D-pad's poor and moves come out poorly, then what's the point if you can't control your character properly? So I think the D-pad has to be good on this. If it is good, this controller, in my opinion, is a thumbs up. But anyways, I'll leave that one to you. Let me know in the comments below what you think about it. And now I'm going to switch over to the Android controller that they just announced. So Razer has just announced the JungleCat, which turns your phone into a Nintendo Switch. It looks very much like a Nintendo Switch at the very least. And if you don't believe me, just Google a picture of the Nintendo Switch and there you go. So if we take a look at this, it looks like there's two Joy-Cons, there's a D-pad, there's also some buttons. So in my opinion, this looks really cool right off the bat if you are an Android gamer. So we'll scroll down just a little bit. The game that they're highlighting right here too, if you're wondering, is King of Fighter All-Stars. I did a review on that. If you want to go check it out, by all means do. If you want the Cole's Notes, it's not a bad game. So let's scroll down just a little bit. This is the game in action here, the controller in action. They're playing Fortnite. It does look a little more crammed than the Joy-Con. But if we do scroll down a little bit, there's also something else I want to talk about here. The modular design. So it says the Razer JungleCat comes with 3 custom cases that keep it attached to your phone, giving you the flexibility to attach the left, right, or both sides of the mobile gaming controller. It also includes an adapter which turns it into a standalone controller that pairs it with other Android devices and Windows PC. View FAQs below for a list of supported phone models. So if we take a look at this, this is a phone inside of a case that's attached to the controllers. So right now, right off the bat, this is not compatible with all phones. So I do want to announce that right away based on that information. So please don't get your hopes up that your phone will work with this in this mode. It'll probably work via Bluetooth, but this mode like this, it will not work on all phones. So we'll scroll down. They use BLE, which is great. But if we look at the models of phones that they support, it says right here, it will support the Razer Phone 2, the P30 Pro, the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus for one model. The second model supports the Razer Phone 2, Samsung Galaxy Note 9. So actually that works because that's my phone. And the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus. But at the same time, I would also have to take my Note 9 out of the case that I'm using and put it in the case here for this controller. And if we click on the picture of the Joy-Con, I mean the Razer JungleCat, we can definitely see this is a smaller, I want to say smaller. It looks smaller, but it's probably a smaller version of the Joy-Con via Bluetooth. So you can use it with your Android device. You can probably use it on PC if you would like it that way as well. Another neat thing about this is that it uses dual USB-C. So each controller charges on its own. So the left and right are not one unit. They charge independently from each other. Something else that's neat too, I kind of scrolled over this, but it's sensitivity adjustment function. So mapped via the Razer Gamepad app, you can toggle a secondary thumbstick sensitivity that allows for more precise aiming when the need arises, crucial for FPS games. So that's kind of cool. You can tweak the sensitivity of these. I quite like that as well. Overall thought on this. First and foremost, I don't have one to review, so I cannot give you a yay or nay overall. Razer, if you're watching this, feel free to send me one. I'd be more than happy to review it. In terms of pricing, it is $100, which does make it a little more on the pricey side in terms of Bluetooth controllers for Android devices. In my mind, this is the ideal way to play it. Put your phone in there, put the Joy-Cons on the side, or the JungleCat controllers on the side, and you're off to the races. It looks very portable. It looks very fun to use. It looks very practical, whether you're on a plane or a train or a car, or just on a bus or something like that. It looks like this is very practical to use and carry around with you. On top of that, they tout a 100-hour battery life. So these things can be on for 100 hours apparently before they run out, which is huge. It's massive. But at the same time, if you don't have a phone that fits in it, then what's the point? I mean, yes, you can, stick them together and use it as kind of a controller, but then you lose the whole function of being able to use your phone as a handheld while you're playing the game. So I really hope that they come out with some more phone cases, or at least something to allow more people to be able to use this with their phones, because there are a lot of different brands of Android phones. It's not just one Android phone, and it's not just Samsung out there. There's a ton of different brands, a ton of different models, and a ton of different Android phones overall. So I would like to see this compatible with a lot more devices in some way, shape, or form. That would be awesome. So that's pretty much all I have for today. Let me know what you think of the Raion. Let me know what you think of the JungleCat in the comments below. These are really cool things in my opinion, and I'm really curious to see what other people think. Is there a flaw that you see? Are there some cool benefits that you see? Let me know in the comments below. But besides that, that's literally all I got. So if you liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't like the video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Thank you, everyone. Take care.